The Amazons were furious when they learned that Antiope had been taken. The Amazons charged at Hercules and his men, thinking they were rescuing Hippolyta. When Penthesilea arrived at Troy, the Trojans welcomed her with open arms. They had been fighting the Greeks for many years. The Amazons were a group of fierce warrior women who lived on the edges of the known world. They were said to come from distant lands, far from the cities of Greece. Some stories tell us that the Amazons came from a place near the Black Sea in a region called Scythia. This area was wild and full of mountains, forests, and rivers. The Greeks believed that only the bravest women could survive there, and that is why the Amazons were so strong and fearless. The Amazons were different from other women the Greeks knew. They lived in a society where women were the leaders, hunters, and fighters. Unlike Greek women who stayed at home, the Amazons rode horses, hunted wild animals, and fought in battles. They had their own queens, and they ruled themselves without needing men. This was very surprising to the Greeks, who were used to men being in charge. In Amazon society, girls were trained to be warriors from a young age. They learned to use weapons like bows and arrows, swords, and spears. They practiced riding horses and fighting in groups. The Amazons believed being strong was important, so they spent much of their time training and staying fit. According to some myths, the Amazons would burn off their right to make it easier to shoot arrows. This made them even better at archery, and it became a symbol of their bravery and dedication to their way of life. Many historians have wondered if the Amazons were real or just a myth. Some believe that the stories of the Amazons might have been inspired by real-life women warriors from the Scythian tribes. The Scythians were a group of people who lived near the Black Sea and were known for their horseback riding and archery skill. Archaeologists have found graves of Scythian women buried with weapons, like swords and bows. Some of these women had wounds from battle, showing they fought just like the men. The Amazons remain one of the most fascinating legends of ancient times. Their story shows us that the idea of strong, independent women warriors captured the imagination of the Greeks. Hercules, the strongest of all Greek heroes, was given 12 difficult tasks, known as his labors, as you probably know. For his 9th labor, King Eurystheus ordered Hercules to bring him the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazon. This girdle was a special belt given to Hippolyta by her father, Ares, the god of war. It was a symbol of her power and her status as the leader of the Amazons. Hercules set out on a long journey to reach the land of the Amazons. When he arrived, he decided to try a peaceful approach first. Hercules met Hippolyta and explained his quest. To his surprise, she listened and was willing to give him the girdle as a sign of friendship. It seemed the mission would end without bloodshed, but the gods had other plans. Hera, queen of the gods, disliked Hercules and wanted to see him fail. She disguised herself as an Amazon warrior and spread a rumor among the Amazons that Hercules was there to kidnap their queen. This caused fear and anger to spread quickly through the Amazon camp. The warriors believed their queen was in danger, and they prepared for battle. The peaceful negotiation turned into a fierce fight. The Amazons charged at Hercules and his men, thinking they were rescuing Hippolyta. Hercules, who realized that the situation had changed, had no choice but to defend himself. He fought bravely, using his great strength and skills to face the Amazon warriors. The battle was intense, with many powerful warriors on both sides. Hippolyta herself joined the fight to not look weak. Torn between her initial trust in Hercules and the loyalty she felt for her people too. During the battle, Hercules managed to defeat many Amazons, but he did not feel happy about it. Conflict had started because of a lie, not because of true hatred. In the chaos, Hercules reached Hippolyta, and a tragic moment occurred. He either mistakenly believed she was attacking him, or he felt he had no other choice but to take the girdle by force. He took Hippolyta and took her girdle, fulfilling his labor but feeling the weight of what had happened. Curious fellows, this was not the end but a beginning. You know why? Let me tell you about her sister. Antiope was a warrior like no other, known for her skill in battle and her dedication to her Amazon sisters. She was strong, fierce, and never hesitated to defend her people. But her story would take a surprising and tragic turn when she crossed paths with Theseus, the legendary hero and king of Athens. Unlike other encounters with men, this one was different. A story woven with both love and betrayal, leading to one of the most intense conflicts between the Amazons and the Greeks. When Theseus joined Hercules on his quest to retrieve Queen Hippolyta's magical girdle. During this journey, Theseus met Antiope, and something unexpected happened. Instead of seeing her as just another warrior to defeat, he saw her strength and beauty, her intelligence and courage. Antiope, in turn, saw something in Theseus that intrigued her. They were drawn to each other in a way neither had expected. Their eyes met across the battlefield, and for a brief moment, there was a spark. Connection that neither could ignore. But fate had other plans. In the midst of their meeting, a conflict broke out. Some stories say that Theseus, captivated by Antiope, took her by force and brought her back to Athens. Others say she fell in love with him and willingly chose to go with him, hoping for peace between their peoples. Whatever the truth, Antiope soon found herself far from home, surrounded by strangers, living among the Greeks in Athens. Life in Athens was strange for Antiope. She was treated with respect as Theseus's companion, but she was also seen as an outsider, a fierce Amazon among the Greeks. People of Athens were curious about her, but they also feared her, whispering behind her back, wondering if she would betray them. Antiope felt trapped. She missed her homeland, companionship of her Amazon sisters, and the freedom of the wild forests where they lived and trained. Yet, this bond was fragile, built on a foundation that could crumble at any moment. Word of Antiope's capture reached the Amazons, and they were furious. They saw Theseus's actions as a betrayal, an insult to their honor and their queen. Led by the fierce warrior Orithyia, the Amazons prepared for war. They would not let one of their own be taken without a fight. They sailed across the Aegean Sea, determined to rescue Antiope and make the Greeks pay for their arrogance. When the Amazons arrived at the gates of Athens, they were ready for battle. Antiope stood by Theseus's side, torn between her loyalty to her people and her feelings for him. The tension grew as both sides prepared for what would become a fierce and brutal war, the Amazonomachy. As the battle began, Antiope felt her heart split in two. She saw her sisters, her friends, charging forward with fierce determination, their weapons gleaming in the sun. She saw Theseus, leading his soldiers to protect his city. Antiope wanted peace, but she knew that was impossible now, feeling like she belonged to neither. The fighting was intense, with both sides showing incredible skill and bravery. The Amazons fought with their usual agility and speed, moving like shadows across the battlefield, their arrows flying true, their swords striking with precision. The Athenians held their ground, using their shields and formations to withstand the Amazon onslaught. For days, the battle raged on with neither side willing to surrender. The turning point came when Antiope was struck by an arrow during the battle. Some say the arrow came from an Amazon's bow, meant for Theseus, but accidentally hitting Antiope instead. Antiope fell to the ground, wounded, a life slipping away. Theseus rushed to her side, desperate to save her. He held her close, whispering words of comfort, promising to end the fighting to make things right. But it was too late. Antiope knew her time was short. With her last breath, she spoke to him, her voice soft but filled with conviction. "End this war," she said. "Do not let my death be in vain. Honor my people as I have honored yours." Theseus promised to do as she asked. He knew he would carry the weight of her death with him forever. Antiope's death marked a turning point in the battle. The Amazons, seeing their beloved sister fall, fought even harder, their grief turning into a fierce rage. But they were also tired, their numbers dwindling, and they knew they could not fight forever. Eventually a truce was called, and battle ended. The Amazons retreated, taking with them Antiope, their fallen queen, and sister. This truce did not mean the ending of Amazon warrior spirit. Instead, in the last days of the Trojan War, a new hero arrived to help the city of Troy. Her name was Penthesilea, and she was the later queen of the Amazon. She was tall, strong, and fierce, with eyes that burned like fire. She decided to join the Trojan War, fighting alongside King Priam of Troy against the Greeks. She hoped that a noble death in battle might redeem her and bring peace to her troubled soul. When Penthesilea arrived at Troy, the Trojans welcomed her with open arms. They had been fighting the Greeks for many years and needed new hope. Penthesilea promised to bring her Amazon warriors to help defend the city. The Greeks were surprised to see a woman leading an army in Trojan War, not wearing headgear. But they quickly learned that Penthesilea was no ordinary warrior, but an Amazon queen. In battle, she rode her horse with speed and grace, her arrows flying true and her sword striking fear into her enemies. But soon Penthesilea faced her greatest challenge, the Achilles, the mightiest of all the Greek warriors. Achilles was famous for his strength and had already defeated many heroes in the war. He was unstoppable, and when he saw Penthesilea on the battlefield, he knew they would have to fight. Penthesilea did not back down. She stood her ground, proud and fearless. Their duel was fierce and intense. Penthesilea fought with all her strength, her sword clashing against Achilles' mighty shield. She moved swiftly, her hair flying in the wind, her eyes focused on her enemy. Achilles was impressed by her bravery and skill. She was different from any opponent he had faced before. In the end, Achilles' strength proved too much. With the strength of his heart, he struck a final blow, and Penthesilea fell to the ground. As Achilles looked down at Penthesilea, he felt something unexpected. He saw her face, realized his opponent was a woman, calm in death, and was struck by her beauty and courage. For a moment, he felt a deep sadness. Even though she was his enemy, he admired her bravery and spirit. This moment showed that even in war, there could be respect between warriors. It reminded everyone that their enemies were also human, with their own hopes, fears, and dreams. The story of Penthesilea adds a rich layer to the myths of the Trojan War. It is not just about battles and victories. It is about honor, redemption, and the complexity of heroism. Penthesilea's quest to find peace and her tragic death show that heroes come in many forms, and that true bravery is not only about fighting, but also about facing one's own mistakes and seeking a noble path. By the way, you might be wondering why I said she was seeking peace. In one version of the myth, Hercules did not kill Hippolyta. Instead, in the later part of her life, Penthesilea accidentally killed her during a hunting season. So to find peace and regain her honor, she decided to join the Trojan War. No confusion, right? The Amazonomachy, or the battles between the Greeks and the Amazons, was a popular subject in ancient Greek art and literature. Artists and writers found these stories exciting and full of meaning. They used them to create beautiful and powerful works that have lasted for thousands of years. The Amazonomachy had a lot of symbolism. For the Greeks, these battles represented more than just fighting. They symbolized the struggle between order and chaos. The Greeks saw themselves as representing order, with rules, laws, and civilization. The Amazons, who lived differently from Greek women and were fierce fighters, were seen as a kind of chaos. They did not follow the traditional roles expected of women in Greek society. Instead, they chose to fight like men and live by their own rules. This was both fascinating and frightening to the Greeks. The battles between the Greeks and the Amazons also symbolized the conflict between the masculine and the feminine. The Amazons did not fit into this idea. They were strong, independent, and skilled in combat. This made them a symbol of the feminine power that challenged the male-dominated world of ancient Greece. In art and literature, the defeat of the Amazons by Greek heroes showed the triumph of male strength and the reassertion of traditional gender roles. But the Amazonomachy was also used for political reasons, especially in Athens. The stories were a way to promote unity and patriotism among the Greeks. In these ways, the Amazonomachy was much more than just a story. It was a tool that helped shape how the Greeks saw themselves and their world. So what do you think about Amazonomachy? Please subscribe to support the channel. You can also visit the channel for more videos on this topic. See you in the next video.